I am so excited about this episode. I'm so excited. And so I think we should just get into it
Yeah.
because I could go on and on about it before I actually started, and that would be stupid. Ash, there's a line in the hit series Stranger Things that stuck with me the first time I heard it. The world is full of mysterious things we can't explain.
Mhm.
And the story is fiction for sure. Small town, kids on bikes, a dark mirror world hidden just beneath our own, a place where the familiar becomes distorted, inverted, and swallowed by something unknowable. In that show, people vanish. They slip through cracks no one sees, as if they've crossed a threshold the rest of us didn't even know existed.
I believe this. So I
Uh
know
huh.
Stranger Things is fictional,
Uh huh.
but especially in the nature of what we do, we're always searching, we're always looking for answers. We basically base our lives on mysteries and the
Hmm.
unknown. And one of the things we have come across time and time again is that that's not far fetched.
This is exactly it. Because while Stranger Things is supposed to be entertainment, sometimes reality mirrors or echoes the strangest parts of our imagination.
I'm giddy. Let's go, girl.
On August 30th, 2013, a young man named Bryce Laspisa, bright, artistic, funny, and fiercely loved, did something that to this day defies explanation. He left his campus without warning, drove through the night, spoke to people along the way, and then just disappeared. Vanished so thoroughly, it's as though the world itself split open and swallowed him up. Before everything went sideways, Bryce was just a kid who seemed to have the world lined up in front of him like stepping stones. He has this fiery red hair, like the gingerest of gingers, bright green eyes, charismatic, and he is especially loved by his parents, Karen and Michael Laspisa. You know, when you see kids, and we dive deep into people's personal lives all the time. And don't get me wrong, most parents, there's some assholes out there, but most parents, like, we love our kids. Some of them, I just feel like they love them a little bit more, where like their whole universe is this child.
I know
And
you're looking at me across the camera.
it's
I
like
see you.
I am guilty of
I
this.
feel like I'm being called out.
Honestly, when I
Yeah.
was reading about Karen and Michael, it reminded me of you quite a bit.
Yeah.
Where, so first of all, he was their only child.
Hmm.
Their absolute pride, their focus, everything they did in their life revolved around making sure that Bryce had the best tools, the best resources, everything in order for him to succeed. They had moved from Illinois to Laguna Niguel, California when Bryce graduated high school. And like any parents trying to give their kid a fresh start and the best chance at a future, they did what parents do. They opened the door and trusted that life would meet him halfway.
Yeah.
So, and you and I are at this point right now in our lives with teenagers.
Yep.
You get to a point where you can only do so much, and you have to just trust that the skills that you've taught them are
Yeah.
going to carry them into adulthood.
I always think about it as like with our kids, I picture it like a path, like in a
Yeah.
forest where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, it's a paved path.
Hmm.
You're on the path. Don't get off the path.
Don't get
Stay
off the
on the
path.
path. These motherfuckers never stay on that goddamn path.
No, I
They're
don't
like,
know
oh,
about mine is like, that looks shiny. There she
yeah,
goes.
yep.
She's gone. I
Stay on the
know.
path, fuck.
Please
It's
get
paved.
get on the path. It's lit. It's
Yeah.
paved. It's warm.
Yeah.
Stop. There's nothing out there. Anyway, in 2012, Bryce enrolled at Sierra College. Now, this is about 7 hours north from where his parents lived. He declared a major in graphic and industrial design, something that made perfect sense for a kid who grew up sketching and painting and absorbing the world visually. Like he
Yep.
was just this super artistic kid And college was good for Bryce. He made friends quickly, he settled into dorm life, and he fell in love.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bryce.
His girlfriend, Kim, was sweet, steady, and warm in all the ways you want someone to be when your teenager
Mm,
is 500 miles from home.
I have
I was going to say,
one of these in my life.
we have a
I
Kim.
I have a Kim, but it's a
Hmm.
boy named Gavin. And Gavin, if
And
you're
we love him.
listening, Gavin, we love you. Please never
Good
leave
stuff.
us.
Yeah, we need you desperately. And he had a roommate, Sean, and he was the kind of guy parents are relieved their kid ends up living with. So, like, they met Sean and they were like, "Ooh, what a relief." Like, Sean's calm, responsible, he's honest, everything's going to be fine. And for almost a full year, it was. Everything was fine.
Okay.
But when Bryce returned for his second year in August 2013, something was different. Not dramatic at first, just off. A
So
shift
did
in energy.
sorry, I have a question. Did Bryce go
Hmm.
home for the summer and then
Yeah,
return? Okay,
yeah.
so everything was normal at home.
Everything was good.
Okay.
So
Nothing happened.
he gets back to school, and his friends describe that it wasn't a change in his personality, it was a change in his vibe. So it was still Bryce. And when I was writing this, you were going through your shit, and I was like, did he quit vaping?
I was just thinking that. I'm like, yeah, tell me more.
A change in his vibe? Yeah, so and he wasn't angry or withdrawn or acting out. He just seemed hollow,
I
like he
hate
was
that,
tired behind his eyes. Yeah,
which is odd for a kid.
I know, I know. And no one could really articulate it. Some of his closest friends, Sean and Kim, would say, like, "Are you good?" And he would always say, "Yeah, I'm all right." Why? Still smiling, going to classes, hanging out with friends, but it just wasn't Bryce.
This is giving me the creeps.
Girl, you're not even ready.
I am creeped.
You're not even ready. So small things started stacking up. First thing, he starts giving away his personal possessions.
Suicide? Is he
That's
planning on
exactly,
killing himself?
yeah. And do not get me wrong. I fully understand that the happiest people can be suicidal. This is
100%.
not, I am not coming on here to say, like, well, he wasn't suicidal, so it couldn't be that. I get it. I know that happens. There just was no indication and no reason
Yeah, like nothing had
that
changed
anyone
for
could
him.
see. No, no, summer was great. Parents were exactly the way they always are. He goes about his thing. So he gives away a video game console, a pair of diamond earrings he'd bought for Kim.
Huh?
And like, yeah, so these were things that felt like casual generosity. And people started to get very worried because just like you and I, they were like, this is suicide. This is a
Yeah.
suicidal thing. He started staying awake for 48 hours at a time.
Girl, I once stayed awake for 36 straight hours.
Mm-mm.
I was like, this is early parent life. I was up for 36 hours because I had a
Mhm.
baby and a toddler, well, like a older
Kid.
kid. Um, and they were sick and I was up for
Yeah.
36 straight hours. I was delirious. I would
Yeah.
go from laughing to crying because I just
Yes.
needed to sleep. I was going
Yeah.
crazy. So
Yeah.
48 hours? No.
And he was doing this often. So it wasn't like back to back, but he would at least once a week, he's staying up for 48 hours at a time, and his texts became vague, his
Mm-mm.
plans less solid, and his explanations just didn't quite make sense. On the night of August 26th, 2013, the crack widened. That night, Bryce sent a text to his girlfriend saying, "You will be better off without me." And again, all this indicates suicide.
Yeah.
Suicidal ideation, depression, something has snapped here and it's not good.
And then you think like maybe it wasn't like a big thing, but like maybe the stress of school,
Yeah,
like those all could be reasons. Some people handle stress differently. So that's kind
yeah,
of where I'm sitting with this right now.
yeah, exactly. So at this moment, Kim is like, okay, enough red flags have gone off here. I'm genuinely worried. And she asked him, "What do you mean? Are you breaking up with me? Are you okay? What is going on?" Bryce, as usual, insisted everything was fine. He was just stressed out, had a rough night. He told her not to worry, but of course she did. Enough so that the next night on August 20th, she asked Bryce to come over to her apartment so she could see him face to face. And when he arrived, she saw it instantly. She said
Okay.
it wasn't stress, it wasn't a rough night. Something was wrong. He was not acting like himself. His speech was slower. His eyes were glassy. He seemed completely detached, like his body was there, but he was not fully connected.
So he was like going through the motions, but not like,
Yeah.
okay.
So Kim is like, "Have you been drinking?" And he's
Hmm.
like, "No, of course not." She's like, "Have you taken anything, Bryce? Like, you don't look good." And he says, "No," again. But here's the part that lingers. Kim didn't believe him. She was like, "Something's not right with you. You just showed up here. You don't even look like yourself." So she hid his car keys.
Good job,
Yeah,
girl.
she was like, "No, you're not driving." And she called his mom. She's like, "Something's wrong with Bryce. I don't think he should be driving. I am genuinely worried about your son. And
Hmm.
I think we now need your help." And of course, poor Karen and Michael, 7 hours away, hearing this anxiety in Kim's voice, they're like, "Give him the phone." Let Karen's like, "Let me talk to him." Bryce gets on the line. He's like, "Mom, I'm fine. She's overreacting. I want to leave." He's like, "I'll talk to you about everything when I get home tomorrow." And he promised he was okay. And when Kim retells this story, she said she was almost in shock when he got on the phone with his mom because it was like he turned it on. It was like he turned himself back on. And then she's sitting there feeling crazy
Well, yeah.
because
She's like,
she's like,
I sound like a fucking lunatic because
because
he's,
he now sounds fine on the phone with his mom. And Karen does say, and we both know this. You know that moment when your kid says they're fine and you know they're not,
hmm.
but you also know that pushing harder might make it worse. And
Yes.
remember, Karen is 7 hours away. So it's not even like she could be like, "Just wait there, I'll be there, and we'll sort this out."
Well, this is it. And like he said, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll tell you what's going on. So you're like, okay, we're going to have a conversation. He sounds fine.
Yeah, exactly. So Karen made a decision that she would spend the rest of her life replaying because she told Kim to give Bryce his keys back. Bryce left Kim's apartment at 11:30 p.m. Now, he wasn't headed home even though he said he was heading home. So, from what I can understand, he told Karen, he's like, "You know what? I'm going to leave right now from Kim's place. I'm going to come home." And Karen's like, "Great idea. Do that." No one knows exactly what direction his mind was taking him, but his car went south. He stopped at his apartment long enough to tell his roommate, Sean, that he needed to talk. But when Sean waited for him to explain, Bryce just stared at him.
What do you mean?
Yeah. So, from what I understand in this situation, so Bryce pulls in.
Hmm.
It's now the early morning.
Okay.
And he says, "Sean, I need to talk to you." And Sean is like, "Yeah, man, what's up?" And Bryce just stares at him. Then he goes and gets his favorite pair of diamond earrings and gives them to Sean. And Sean's like, "Buddy, I don't want your earrings. What's going on? You said you needed to talk." And from all accounts, Sean is basically like, "We agreed we would talk in the morning. We agreed we both need," like, he was like, "Okay, buddy, like, you look like maybe you need some sleep. Why don't you lay down?" And Bryce is like, "Good idea." But at some point that night, Bryce got back in his car and left campus. Now, this is where the case becomes surreal. Bryce drove out of Rockland down toward the interstate through rural towns across empty early morning highways. He didn't go home. He didn't go back to school. He didn't go to a friend's house. He just drove.
Okay.
It's 9 a.m. the next morning, August 28th, and his parents' phone rings. It was their insurance company. A man named Christian, who owned a small roadside service shop near Button Willow, a tiny little town off Interstate 5, called to say Bryce had run out of gas and he'd brought him 3 gallons.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I know it's hard when I'm telling a story like this where there's a whole bunch of little towns and you got to kind of picture it in your mind, but
Okay.
I'm going to do my best. Button Willow is 3 hours north of Laguna Niguel, where his parents live.
Okay, 3 hours.
So he's currently 3 hours from home. So Karen calls Bryce immediately and she's like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "I'm on my way." But he didn't move from that spot for hours. He just sat there, stationary and silent. At 12:30 p.m., 3 hours after the gas was delivered, Karen calls Christian and says, "Can you go check on Bryce again?" And Christian's like, "There's no way he's still there. I gave him gas 3 hours ago." And she's like, "No, you got to go check because I think he's in the same spot." So Christian's like, "Okay, ma'am, like I'll go." He finds Bryce sitting with his seat tilted back, staring out the front window, hands on the steering wheel, completely zoned out.
Okay.
He wasn't asleep. He wasn't distressed. He wasn't panicking. He was just like there, but not there.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this becomes the theme of this whole story because Bryce was in the world, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
When Karen gets Bryce on the phone again, he said, "I'm just thinking." And Karen's now fully concerned. Now
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Bryce, sweetheart, you got to come home.
Mm-hmm.
You're 3 hours away. Let's just put that car in drive and
Let's go.
get on the road. Like, you got this. We'll go through everything when you get home. We got this." And he's like, "Okay, Mom, you're right. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of out of it." So it's 2 p.m. Bryce finally leaves Button Willow. But Ashley, he didn't go very far. He drove down the highway and then stopped at a rest area and stayed there for another several hours. Yep.
Okay.
When he finally moves again, surveillance footage shows him passing a camera at 5:30 p.m. and again at 7:30 p.m. going the exact same direction.
He looped?
He was circling the same route over and over and over again.
So he's literally driving in circles.
Yeah. Now, Karen and Michael don't know this yet because every time they talk to Bryce, he is lucid. He's with it. He's like, "Oh my God, you're right. Silly me. I'll get going right now." And so then they're like, "All right, so let's do this. Like, we'll see you in a couple of hours." Bryce had spent almost an entire day in Button Willow, hours of circling highways, sitting still in his car and telling his mom he's coming home, but never comes home.
This is so weird.
I know. As the sun goes down for the second time, the situation crossed a line from strange into alarm. 10 p.m., August 28th. So guys, like, Bryce should have been home mid-morning.
Yeah.
It is 10 p.m. He calls his parents again. Kieran says his voice was neutral, empty but calm.
Mhm.
He says, "I'm on my way home. So sorry." And Karen is like, "What is going on?" And he's like, I just needed the drive. It's fine. Like, sometimes we just need to drive around to clear our head." And Karen's like, "Sweetheart, yeah, absolutely. But that's like an hour thing.
Yeah. We're not driving 12 hours in circles. Hello?
You've been circling Button Willow for 8 hours. You got to come
Mm-mm.
home." And he's like, "Promise, promise. I'm on my way home. I should be there around 3 a.m. So Karen and Michael are exhausted, but they're relieved. They're like, "Okay, now he's given us the time. He's on his way." They stayed awake, kept the porch light on. Mom was making things for him to eat when he got in. But 3 a.m. came and went. No Bryce. 4 a.m. Still nothing. By 5 a.m., Karen was done waiting. She's like, "This is ridiculous." She gets in the car and just starts driving north, which
That's what I would do. Yeah.
100%. I'm doing that. She's like, "I will find our son somewhere. He is somewhere on Interstate 5. And she would find him, but not in the way she had hoped. It's 8 a.m. As Karen's driving, her phone rings. It was the California Highway Patrol. They had found Bryce's car, and what they told her did not make sense. The SUV had been found at a remote access road near Castaic Lake, about 90 minutes north of the Laspisa home. So he was an hour and a half away from home. But this was not on his route. This was not a main road. It's not near a rest stop, not near a gas station. I really want you guys to picture this isn't like some side road off the highway. This is like a rural, out in the middle of nowhere road. The terrain is steep and rocky and unforgiving.
So he went off-roading?
This is not a place that someone accidentally ends up going down. Even if you're lost, they were explaining, like, picture the most rural road you can think of. This is off of that.
It's crazy. Okay.
And Bryce's car was upside down. It had gone off a 25-foot embankment, rolled, and landed on its roof on a dirt service road. All airbags deployed.
Okay. Bryce isn't in it?
Here's the creepy thing. The back window, so picture the SUV, you're driving, you get into an accident. The back window had been kicked out from the inside.
Okay.
There was no blood, no sign of injury, and no Bryce. He had survived the crash because he kicked out the back window and he had walked away. There were footprints leading from the rear of the car to the edge of the lake, and then they disappeared. Now, you would assume, all right, this is very sad. Bryce was going through something. He was suicidal. He was not in his right mind. Something was wrong. The accident happens. He's like, shit, I'm not dead. He walks into the lake and dies. And that is initially what Karen and the police assumed had happened.
This poor mother.
I know.
Oh,
and Karen's such a sweetheart. And I'll talk about her in a little bit. But here's the thing. They bring out the search dogs. They trace his scent to the water's edge, then lose it. So everything is pointing to Bryce got in the lake. Now, let's talk a little bit about geography here. A lake is not the ocean. There are not tides. Lakes are stagnant pools of water, essentially. I mean, yes, water runs into them, water runs out of them, but this is not a river. No. It does not have a current. It is a lake.
There's no inlets, big inlets. No.
And we have to remember, it wasn't like they found his car days later. This was shortly after this happened. Karen had just spoken to him at 10 p.m. So then they bring in cadaver dogs because they're like, he's clearly dead. We have to search for human remains. They find nothing. Here are some details that I need to tell you so that you can fully understand the fuckery of this story. Before the crash, Bryce had been spotted at 2 a.m. driving on Lake Hughes Road, heading toward Castaic Lake. Cell records showed his final ping just after 2:15 a.m. From that moment forward, Bryce vanished, and no one has ever been able to explain why. All right, so there's another piece of this, and I know all of you are thinking right now, and I know you too, Ashley. You're like, all right, this is really sad, but it was suicide.
Yeah.
He just walked off the cliff. He wanted to end it all. That's it. But here's some things that are going to fuck with your mind. Earlier that evening, around 12:30 a.m., so remember, he talks to mom and dad at 11. A truck driver had called the CHP to report a car sitting in the exact spot where Bryce's SUV would later be found crashed. He described the driver as a young man with red hair, sitting completely still, hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead, engines off, lights off, doing nothing.
Okay, so he saw him sitting there in the exact spot where they found it upside down at the next point.
Now, that was 12:30 a.m. The last ping of his cell phone is 2 a.m. Okay. So we have to assume this truck driver sees him sitting there the same way Christian had seen him the day before and is like, that's fucking weird. What is this kid doing? So he gets out and he knocks on the window because he's worried. He's like, something's wrong with this kid. The driver told police that he didn't respond to him, didn't react, didn't even look at him. Glassy eyes, staring ahead, hands on the steering wheel. Knock, knock, knock on the window. Doesn't even startle. Nothing.
This is so weird.
So they believe he sat there for roughly 2 hours before he put the car in drive, slowly rolled forward and accelerated towards the edge of the embankment. Again, suicide. Okay, I know we're all thinking that, but let's talk about this. After the crash, search and rescue teams spent thousands of hours covering that area. I want you to imagine every single thing that we have available to us, they did. Drones, boats, divers, scent dogs, heated cameras, you name it, they did everything. They scraped the lake.
He's not in the lake.
He's nowhere. They did not find a shoe, not a piece of clothing, not his body, not a trace. So this led to 4 major theories, and we're going to walk through them. The first one, accidental drowning. Bryce has just had a bad accident while he's not bleeding, which that was another thing that the police were like, something's off here. Guys, his car went off a cliff, a 25-foot embankment, landed on the roof. This guy there was no blood found. Not
That's
a
weird.
scratch.
Yeah.
The impact of that alone, there was one police officer who said, even if he didn't have any physical injuries, the impact of that alone would make your nose bleed.
Yes.
Your nose is bleeding. You've bit your tongue. Something has happened from the impact of this. Nothing. So they think, okay, you're injured. You stumbled out of the SUV. You walk into the lake and you drown. But like I said, the lake wasn't deep near the entry points. And yes, he could have kept walking, but their cadaver dogs would have detected something. And they detected nothing.
But cadaver dogs only are made to smell decomp. So like,
yes, true. But they had both search dogs and cadaver dogs. And guys, 12 years, no remains have ever surfaced.
Fucking weird.
Drowning victims typically resurface within days or weeks, even in cold water.
Mm-hmm.
During the decomp process, our body releases gases that basically make us like balloons.
Unless something ate them down there.
Maybe. And they thought maybe, but no clothing surface, no shoe, no nothing, no
And
trace.
they scraped the bottom, so...
And they scraped the bottom.
Okay.
Like within days of his disappearance.
So he's not in that water.
No. Some believe, so this is the second theory, Bryce survived panic and began a new life somewhere, which no, sorry, he had nothing.
Right. Someone would have seen something.
Exactly. Bryce had no money, no phone, no ID, no car, no supplies.
Did they find his phone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And by all accounts, Bryce, remember, Bryce came from a very privileged home. Bryce had no known survival skills. He's not making it out in the wild.
No.
No matter how many books you read about surviving the wild, you're not doing that. Walking into the wilderness in the dead of the night?
No.
That's not starting over. That's not your plan.
No.
Third was foul play. I also don't subscribe to this in any way, shape, or form. No. Some people say the crash site was remote, but not completely deserted. There were people that would fish there, camp illegally, come to party, to meet, to buy drugs and shit. And some people say he left the crash site alive, encountered someone, and someone hurt him.
I don't think so, because his behavior, that would be... There'd be proof of that. The dogs would have caught that scent. So that does not make sense. And his footprints were going into the water. So that doesn't make sense either.
Headed to the lake. There were no footprints going away from the lake.
Okay.
So I don't subscribe to that at all.
No.
And there was zero evidence found that that's what happened. Now, this is the one that experts lean toward the most. Bryce had a psychological break and disassociation. So if we look at the days leading up to Bryce's disappearance, sleep deprivation, stimulant overuse, emotional detachment, suicidal ideation. Yeah. So they're saying he was in a dissociative state during the crash. All signs point to this, which we cannot argue.
Yeah.
He could have walked away from the crash with no sense of where he was or what he was doing. And in that state, he could have succumbed to environment before dawn. However, where is he? Where's the remains?
Yeah.
Where's the evidence? There's not been a single fragment of proof of Bryce's existence in that area for 12 years.
It's like, the thing is, could you imagine being the mother, the father of that? You would go there. I would be there like daily. Just like it would make you crazy. That would
Well,
make you crazy.
yeah. And the thing is, too, that you would assume over 12 years, because again, this is a remote area, but it's not completely abandoned. People go to fish, people go to hunt, people go to fuck around. Someone is finding something at
No,
some point.
no. This
I
doesn't
know.
make sense
And
to me.
when I say that they did a thorough search, like a lot of times we come on this podcast and we talk about how, you know, agencies aren't doing their job.
Yeah.
That was not the case here. Like I said
No.
earlier, there were no stops. They did everything. Like drones. When you think about drones, and it's so incredible how far we've come even in the last 12 years, but even in 2013, drones had heat-seeking cameras.
Hmm.
Bryce was not missing for that long. This would be a totally different story if I told you that, 4 weeks later, they found the vehicle. They found it within hours of it going off that embankment.
Yeah, girl. I don't know.
Now,
This is definitely Stranger Things.
here is my theory. No one call the hospital, okay? All of his behavior leading up to this, especially the sitting behind the wheel, hands on the steering wheel. Like, guys, he wasn't napping when people saw him in his car. He was fully alert, staring forward, hands on the wheel, as though he was driving, but he wasn't. And because I am woo and I believe in the supernatural and I believe in a whole bunch of shit that we don't know, I believe he was somewhere else.
I actually believe that too.
I believe in the upside down, my friends. And I don't think I think physically it looked like he was here. I don't think he was here. I think he was somewhere else.
Do you think like subconsciously he could have jumped timelines?
Yes.
But it's
And
odd because the part of that is like he could turn it on and off. So that's the weird thing. Why couldn't he just turn it on and get home, sir?
what if he didn't want to?
Yeah.
What if he somehow discovered this crack in the veil? Okay. If we want to put it that way. And he experienced this
Something.
life
Yeah.
and was like, that's the one I want.
It's so weird.
And we hear all the time, and I know some of you are listening to this going, oh my God, Chantal, like, get off it. But we hear about, not that long ago, I was listening to Joe Rogan, and there are stories of people who take like acid, drop acid, or do
Yeah.
like mushrooms, and they're out for like 2 hours and they live a whole life. They
Mhm.
have a wife and children, and they experience an entire life somewhere else. And they wake up from their trip and they're devastated
Yeah, yeah.
because all of a sudden they're mourning an entire life that they lived. So how come it can't be brought on
I
by something else?
actually heard a story about a guy who was like fucking regular guy going to work. And he had a wife and a son and a daughter. And then one day he comes home and it was his daughter's birthday and he has all these gifts. And he's like, oh, like, this is what I got. And she's like, who's that for? And he's like, our daughter, it's her birthday. She's like, honey, we don't have a daughter. And he had a like memory of having a child for 2 years, like family vacations and shit. And everyone was like, you're insane. And that does strike me as something, maybe something like that was happening. But maybe he
Exactly.
had the kind of wherewithal to realize that like what he was experiencing was not, because in those cases, people were like, they're like, no, like this has been happening, but he's not saying that. So I'm like, maybe he's like stuck.
So I went on Reddit because, of course, I went on Reddit.
Reddit. I love you.
Oh,
Fucking love
Reddit, the cesspool of humanity.
Yeah.
But there were a few conversations that I was like, I am delusional enough that I subscribe to this. So
Mhm.
one Reddit user said, what if So he gets into the car accident.
Mm-hmm.
And what if he could only experience his other world when he was near death? So this person said, okay, if we look at Bryce's history, he was showing signs of suicide.
Yeah.
What if he attempted suicide? And that was when he experienced this other reality.
Could be.
And then he was trying to figure out, how do I go back there?
Yeah.
Drove the car off the embankment thinking, that's how I got back there last time, was when I was close to death, and somehow entered this portal. And the only reason that we have his footprints up until the lake is because, yeah, there's a lake in our timeline, but maybe there wasn't in theirs.
Oh my God, this theory. But like, I hear it. I'm not discounting it.
Right? And this is the thing. You can all sit there all day and logically, and like, I think of Matt and Mike, and
They'd be like, okay,
they would be like,
too.
all right, he killed himself and they couldn't find him. But this is 2013. This wasn't 1952.
Right?
We had all the tech in the world to find him. And you mean to tell me 12 years later, there's not any sign of him?
No.
I know.
He's somewhere.
So there is one detail that I've left out so far.
Rude.
2 weeks after Bryce vanished, search teams reported finding a set of footprints near a remote ridge leading into a wooded area. Now,
Okay.
Here's the weird part. They started and stopped, but where they started did not make sense.
They just appeared?
Yes, they just appeared.
You know what about you over there? With your
And
fucking
then
shit?
before they could, because they were like, oh my God, get the, I don't know, guys, I'm not an investigator. Whatever the shit is that they pour into footprints so that they
that
can get
mold or whatever.
whatever.
Get the shit.
They were like,
put
go
it in.
get that. Go get that. Let's put it in. And then we can at least see if it was the same size of foot that he had or something. A windstorm picked up, and before their eyes erased all the footprints.
Could you fucking imagine?
They watched the wind erase the footprints.
Or the universe, because we're not supposed to know about it.
That's right. Now, something that absolutely broke my heart through this, because as much as we're sitting here and we're like, what is it? Let's go deep down the hole of Reddit and figure it out. Karen and Michael are on the other side of this. She has never stopped searching, not for a day, for an hour. Every year she renews the same plea. I joined her Find Bryce Laspisa Facebook page, and it just broke my heart.
It's
because
so
I can't
sad.
imagine.
Because you are never going to accept anything until you get a body, get an answer, get a sighting, get anything. But to have nothing is horrible.
And we cover cases where, the murderer eventually admits to disposing of your loved one in a dumpster, and that they're out there in that dump site, but you're never going to have them. You're never going to have a piece of their body. It's just not going to happen.
But part
with
of her
Karen,
could still be like, he could be alive.
Of course, because it doesn't. There is literally no proof that he wasn't alive, and so cases like Bryce's just stop. And there's no answer. There's no, and remember, this was her baby. This was her little boy.
Yeah.
And so the truth is, we have nothing.
Yeah.
About Bryce.
It's a mystery.
We got nothing. It's been 12 years. From all accounts, we know he was alone, and that's it. We know nothing else.
Well, this has been a wake-up call for me this morning. Jeez Louise, you really got me going here. Thank you.
Where are you, Bryce?
Yeah. Thank you for this one. This was a bit of a, because it's horrible, and regardless, Bryce is still a victim. His parents are still victims, so we have to be kind to that. But it's very interesting, and it really gets you thinking, It's a reality check.
You're so welcome. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And we are going to be coming out with our Christmas schedule. Ash and I are going to take a wee break. Not very long. Yeah, just a little one. And you'll probably still get an episode, but it will be a re-release or one from our vault.
The vault.
And we will give you the date of that very soon because Christmas is coming.
No, can't accept.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you all on Friday.
Friday. Bye.
Bye.